Good morning. I am so glad that you are here today because it shows me that you're interested in about your business and what you need to do to explode your customer service in 2013. You're also not concerned about what Michelle Obama is going to be wearing tonight or what's going on at the inauguration, which will be happening in not too long of a time. So I'm glad that you're sitting here with me today. We also have only a half an hour, so I'm just going to give you about a 30-second blurb of who I am. If you were here last year, you heard me speak. If you didn't, I'm new to you. And we're going to be going like gangbusters to get through in a half an hour and give you information that you can take back and use in your stores. My name is Obarski. I'm from a cold part of the country. I'm from Columbus, Ohio, where it will be 5 degrees tonight when I get off the plane. So those of you who complain about Texas weather or wherever you are, it could be a whole lot worse. I own a company called Merchandise Concepts, have since 1984. That should take a gasp because I'm going to have 29th anniversary in March of my business. I am a retail consultant, trainer, and professional speaker and author, and I travel throughout the world, actually, internationally, speaking on customer service, what brings people back, and my tagline is, make your business contagious. What is it that you do better than anybody else that causes people to come back to your stores? So what I'm going to do is, if you read my little bio of what I'm going to be talking about today, it said that there were going to be 7 things that I'm going to talk about to explode your customer service. I really have 5, but I'm going to take 2 and kind of break them into I'm going to take 2 of them and break them into 2 each so that we have 7. And here's what I want you to do. I just want you to be like you were in school. I want you to, on your little piece of paper that you're taking some notes, I want you to number 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7. And don't get crazy on me if I say, well, this one is really 2, and so then we're out of sync on numbers. So please give me that capability to give you all of the information that you need to know. If I took my arms and I did like this, to me, from growing up in the 50s and 60s, this is, and as far as I know, it is even on my cell phone calculator, it means multiplication, does it not? All right, so here's what I want you to leave with today. You're going to be seeing a red X up on the PowerPoints, and it's going to look like it should look like a big red X, and in your brain, it should be a multiplier, because customer service is a multiplier of everything we do well. I was just talking to a couple ladies over here in the audience, and I said, when you say to your customers, we do and we offer 100% great customer service every day, liar, liar, pants on fire, nobody does that. Everybody at some point has an issue, has a bad day, has an argument before they get into work, has something happen to their car, and when they come into work, the idea of giving great customer service goes out the door. But unfortunately, that one day that it goes out the door could affect a customer who goes out now and tells a whole lot of other people. So saying that, the items that I'm going to tell you today, you're going to say, well, I already knew that. She doesn't tell me anything I don't already know. Here's the point. What do we do on a consistent basis? How are we driven on a consistent basis that every single day we are going to work to gain that 100%, even though we don't do the 100%? It's like going on a diet. How many people said, in January, I'm going to watch my weight, I'm going to eat better, I'm going to eat more healthy, and then you get like 2 days into it and you go, well, this is just too hard, I'm not going to do this anymore. So it's the consistency, and that's what we're looking for. All right. So, I happen to come from Columbus, Ohio. I am not an Ohio State Buckeye because my kids went to other schools, but Urban Meyer happens to be the coach at OSU, and that's not Oklahoma State, because when I get out in this direction, OSU means Oklahoma State. So what he said the other day was interesting, and he didn't mean for it to be quoted, but I heard it, and I said, you know what, I like what he just said, and it happened after the BCS Bowl when Alabama beat Notre Dame. And they said to him, Urban, what do you think about him? What did you think about the outcome? And I wrote his words down, and these were his words, and I think it's so important. If it's strong, make it stronger, and if it's weak, fix it. If it's strong, make it stronger. If it's weak, fix it. So here's what I'm going to ask you to do. As we go over each one of these areas that are important to your business, I'm going to ask you to kind of put a percentage next to that item. And that just means, where do we think we are in your company? Not the person sitting next to you, not the boss. Where do you think you are in your business right now? And where could you probably go? So let's take a look at the very first one. The first one, I think, is excellent first impressions. Just 3 words. First impressions are important. If your mom and dad were like my mom and dad, they said you don't get a second chance to what? Make a first impression. And impressions are important, but here's what I'd like you to do. Think in your mind or write very quickly. If someone was going to give you 3 words to describe your business, what would they be? Your company. When you say the name of your company, what would your customer say? 3 things about you. Because when we say those 3 things, those particular 3 things will be what make up your branding and your marketing practices. Those are the things that you should have as a go-to. So if somebody says they're very, very friendly, then friendly must be everyone that works for you lives and dreams and eats and sleeps, and once they get into your store, that's what they do, because that's what you're known for. So those 3 words are terribly important, so write those 3 words down, whatever they happen to be. Friendly, knowledgeable, well-stocked, trendsetter, whatever those are now things that should be on your website, your blogs, your emails, your Facebook, your Twitter, your LinkedIn, because that's what people know you for. All right. If I said Starbucks, you may hate Starbucks. But let me tell you something about Starbucks. If I said Starbucks, you'd tell me 3 words, right? What would be 3 words that you would tell me about Starbucks? What do they sell? Coffee. What else do they do? Are they friendly? Do I have anybody in here who's... No, they're not friendly. Okay, well, those baristas are taught to be friendly. The point is that if you have Starbucks, there is a consistency. I was just in Mexico City speaking there for their gift show, and I went into my hotel's lower level, into the foyer area, and what was there? A Starbucks. And I walked into that Starbucks, and I said, you know what? This Starbucks doesn't feel any different, smell any different than Columbus, Ohio, or than in Palm Springs, California, or in Boston, Massachusetts. It is the same. The smell is the same. There's still couches, there's still a selection, and there are still people standing in line to get their Starbucks. And here's interesting, even if you don't like Starbucks, because Starbucks doesn't like me. Anybody else like that? Other than the fact that I don't want to spend that much money for a cup of coffee, but it doesn't like me. But here's what I do know. Statistics show that the average Starbucks customer goes back to Starbucks 18 times a month. 18 times a month. Now you calculate, multiplier, what would that 18 times a month times whatever they spend for a cup of coffee every single month ratchet up to be their loyal customer base. That's pretty important. So if I wanted to take you to your store, one of them on the... where are we? Well, it's kind of hard to see. The one on the left is a party store. The one down here is Halloween. But whatever your store is, whatever you believe in, when you take a look at your store, what are those 3 things? What's the first impression? What do people think about you when they come into your store? Because that first impression is important. Let me come to your hometown, wherever it is in the world, actually, if you're here for this particular presentation. And I say, we're going to go out to dinner. I want you to take me out to dinner. The favorite place that you take anybody who's coming for maybe a birthday or an anniversary, but we're going to go celebrate. And you tell me, oh, Ann, I've got the place. Do you have it in your head right now where you would take me? All right. And most of the time you're thinking, I know where I'm going to take her because it's going to be wonderful. The food's going to be great. And you know what? There's entertainment and the service is wonderful. And oh, she's just going to love it. And we get out of the car and we walk up to the door. And all of a sudden I look and there's a trash can that's there and the trash is all over the ground. And I look at there's fingerprints all over it. And I'm thinking, you brought me here for what? Right? Have we walked through the door yet? Have I gotten anything to eat yet? Have you told me how wonderful it is? No, because that first impression happened when I got out of the car and I came up to the front door, and I haven't even walked through the front door yet. Now, it's going to take a whole lot for me to change my mind, right? So first impressions are important. A lot of us have little dust bunnies under our beds at home, do we not? Okay, you know where they are. And you go, oh, well, it's no big deal. Nobody sees them. And you get so used to walking through those doors every single day. First impressions are important. Customer service right now is stretching everything to that next level. Those better, how can we do things better and different? Because mark my word, everything that you sell in your store or I sell on my website can be bought somewhere else. It doesn't have to be bought by us anymore. So we can't afford to take a second chance to make a first impression. The next one is, number 2, is connections. And this is the one where I'm going to tell you this is really 2. And so then when we get to 3, you're going to go, but we already did 3. Okay, so let's not have a mathematical meltdown. This one is on 2, and this is interconnections and exterior connections. So the first one on the connections that I like to talk about is people like to do business with people who are friendly. Oh, well, that's so simple, Anne. Oh, yes, it is. How many of you hire people? How many of you have sat people down in front of you and have interviewed them? And they seem like they're wonderful, and you hire them, and 6 weeks later they have turned some of the costume characters that you've got around here, and you go, where did that person come from? Because you see, their idea of a job was to work for you to get what? A paycheck. The idea of, oh, and I have to smile, and oh, I have to make eye contact, and oh, there's rules I have to follow. Well, this doesn't sound like very much fun. This is a party store. But friendliness is extremely important. Here are some of the things that I'm just going to add for you to think about. And these are basics. I mean, these are just basics. But if you walk in, how many of you have people who wear name tags in your store? Okay, do you have name tags? All right. If they have a name tag, have you ever told them there is really a place to put your name tag on? You don't put it over here. If most of us are right-handed, we go, oh, I'm putting the name tag. Now here, we wear belly button name tags. See? So we look at your belly button, Dave, because I didn't know your name, but I looked at your belly button, right? But if we're in a store, we're putting it on our right shoulder. If I want to know that Susan is working for you, and I walk in and Susan always has my balloons ready for me, or Susan knows my little granddaughter and she knows that she likes to be a princess for Halloween, and Susan and I have a connection, it came up here because we read left to right. So it's Susan, eye contact, and maybe even if you've got a shirt that has your logo or the name of your store on it over here, we now have created a triangle. Could that be something that you use differently to create a connection? Because I now have a human connection. I've got a smile. Most of us spend a whole lot of money on whiteners and teeth brighteners and going to the dentist and all that kind of stuff, but we never smile. I mean, like, what's the story with that? You're working at a party store, for crying out loud. So we want to have a good time. We want to say, gosh, I'm so glad that you took the time to come in today. Because it's also going to be my assumption that people just don't fall into your store. We weren't just at the grocery store and decided that, oh, I got nothing better to do than I'm going to run into this party store, right? It's probably a destination stop. So if I took the time to get my butt in my car and drive and get out of the parking lot and walk up to your front door and come through, I want to see somebody who's friendly. I don't want to feel, and I'll tell you in a little bit how I normally feel when I go to my local party store. So think about a question to ask or making eye contact, but we are not making parrots. Most of us would agree that we hate when we walk into a store and we know that they're going to ask us the same question that they ask the person in front of us, and they're going to ask the person behind us because they don't know anything else to ask. I'd rather you didn't ask me anything. If you can't come up with something better, please don't do it. All right, now I'm going to give you a real quick one that I learned not too long ago with that name tag routine. I was in a restaurant in which the young man that came to wait on us had a little banner underneath his, not expensive or anything, and he said, I march in the marching band. And another little girl came over to give us water, and she said, I have a new puppy. What do you think we talked about the whole time with those two people? What kind of a puppy do you have? How long did you have the puppy? What's the puppy's name? What do you play in the marching band? Do you see how easy that was? And they wanted to put on their name tag. It's a connection. Eye contact. If you have people who are working for you that are under 35 years old, 30 years old, my guess is going to be that they have a very hard time making eye contact. They are used to what? Right here. I'm working on my cell phone. I'm texting whatever you're saying ain't that important because that's where I am right now. Sometime we're going to have, how I have carpal tunnel from this? We're going to have thumbal tunnel, because we're working too much on our thumbs. And I think that that's what happens when we don't realize, look at someone long enough to tell me their eye color. Also, look at someone long enough that you can look at them in the eye, know their face, because if they decide to steal from you, you can all of a sudden sit down with a police person and say, I can identify that person. But I know that none of you have that problem, so we're just not even going to talk about that. Listening skills. Again, listening skills are so incredibly important. Because if we're doing this, or we're talking to somebody else going, well, I can't, you know what, how much time do I can't wait to get out of here. I got to go to lunch. I have break time, and you're not paying attention. What does the customer feel like? Well, you know what? I can go over to the dollar store. I don't need to get it from you, right? And they do. All right. Next one is excellent. I'm going to stop right there. This is your next one on connections. We don't have time to spend a whole lot of time on it, but it's part of your branding process. And your branding process on connections now involves something that it didn't a long time ago. And we've gotten better at it. We've gotten better, but we're not all consistent. I'm not consistent. You're probably not. And here are the areas. LinkedIn, Twitter, Facebook, email. Doing with your database. How are you staying in contact with your customers? Because, ladies and gentlemen, that is the new way to stay connected. It's not good enough just when I walk in to buy some balloons for my granddaughter's birthday that you don't get back in touch with me and say, hey, but Ann, we've got some home decor that you might be interested for Easter, for Halloween, for Christmas, whatever the holiday happens to be. We have an ongoing class that we're doing, and it would be fun on doing tablescapes, and you need to come in and learn how to do maybe a Halloween or an Easter, doing a cake decorating class. What is it that you're doing that you're getting to me on my cell phone? I'm going, get out of town. They're doing that tonight. I'm going to get in my car and I'm going to go. That connection is extremely important now. So it's not only physical, but it's also on the internet. Next one, efficiency. One of the things that I absolutely detest, and it happens over and over and over when I go into my party store, which is a large party store. I walk in the front door. I know exactly what I need. I come into the front door and I look over to the left because that happens to be where the checkout line is. And it's a queue line. Of course, you know, the kind that has all sorts of candy and stuff that can fall out and get bumped and everything while you're in the queue line. Do you know who I'm talking? You don't know who I'm talking about. But anyway, so I stand there and I go, there's 8 people in line. It's the middle of the afternoon on a Tuesday. I need 3 things. I think to myself at that point in time, is waiting in line while someone blows up balloons for someone else, is it worth my time? How many of us say that? We make that assumption. We go, I don't have that kind of time. And a lot of times it's like, probably only take 3 or 4 minutes. We don't have 3 or 4 minutes. We are a immediate society. We want stuff now. If your website takes 3 seconds to download, a person under 25 has already deleted you. They don't need you because it doesn't happen fast enough. So efficiency. People like people who are efficient. I like these comments. People like, don't waste my time. People who can do multitasking. I like this last one. Your paycheck just walked through the door. I fly Southwest Airlines. I just flew Southwest yesterday. Southwest used to be known as what? The cheapest airline. Am I right? How many of you are old enough to remember that when Southwest started, it was pretty inexpensive? And you could get a very inexpensive ticket. Well, now, when I check, Southwest is always a whole lot more. But they're always friendly. They always leave on time. I shouldn't say always. Now, because why? They don't always, but they work really hard at it. They're very consistent. But here's what the president and CEO of Southwest Airlines said in a recent one of his publications that I had on the airlines. And it said this: on the bottom of our paychecks, we write on the left-hand side, compliments of our customers. Wow. Compliments of our customer. Your paycheck comes from the fact that you got a customer that walks in. Your customer who likes you and then goes on Facebook and says, I had the best experience at. Put in the name of your store. Because if they don't, what do? I had the worst experience. And now, instead of it going out to a handful of people, it goes globally. And we've seen how it work to the good. We've seen how it can work to the bad. Efficiency is important. If you're in your local grocery store and they're really, really good, and they have what's called a frontline cash register manager, if you will, she or he knows when there's too many people in line. And what do? They bring up another person to open up a cash register. Target is big at this. Walmart's big at it, because they see that there is a need. Seeing that there's a need to make sure that the customer is taken care of efficiently is important. This is number 3. So on this one, I want you to ask yourself and write down a percentage. Are we doing this 99% of the time? Or are there times that we get complaints back that somebody had to wait in line too long? They had to wait in line because somebody was getting 5,000 balloons for the inauguration. They didn't have, somebody didn't wait on me. Somebody yelled at somebody else throughout the store to find something for them. What was it, and what are you doing to make that efficiency better? Because we have, first impressions? What are you doing there? Second one was on connections on both Facebook and your outside connections, on the inside ones, on the personal ones. Are you doing more training on an ongoing basis? Are you doing it to a point where you're rewarding your people so that they love what they do? Why would they want to work in a party store if it wasn't fun, for goodness sakes? All right, the next one, which is 4, in some cases 5, because you did connections, had 2. If we talk about sales skills, I am from an old school. I'm from the old school that there was old school training for sales. Do you remember that? There was a pattern. You got to know the person, and you got to find out their needs and their wants, and then you got to find out that they had actually a need that you could fill, and then you found out that need, and you were able to also say, well, you know what, if you like this, then you probably could buy this too, which is where we love and would love if our people upsold and multiple sales, because we know that increased UPCs, or the increased number of items that a customer is buying at our cash wrap, is important, is it not? So when we look at questions and answers and options, have you taken the time, or would you think about taking the time to maybe do some additional sales training? You tell me that you want me to have additional add-ons, but I don't know how to do that. And honestly, I'm a little afraid to ask you or tell you I don't know how to do that. How many of us have been taught that? Because usually, if we're told to do that, our customer, we think, is going to say, they're trying to jam stuff down our throat, right? Or, I'm afraid the customer will say that 2-letter word. And what is it? No, I don't need that. Well, okay, it was an option. Did you ever think about trying this? By the way, we just got this in. I was just at a show. You're just not even going to believe this. Even if you don't need this, you really need to take a look at it. You see, it's that connection. It's finding out what that customer needs, likes, giving questions, answers, and options. People like doing business with people who are knowledgeable. I believe you can't give those options if you're not knowledgeable. When I used to be a buyer for a major department store, bought $1 million department area for one of the biggest department stores in the country, traveled all over the world. And what I learned was that having that knowledge was good for me, but my salespeople needed to know. And so what I would do is say, we'd have a bestseller meeting, or we'd have a new item meeting. So before the store would open, we'd bring over a new item and we'd go, we just got this in. Here are 3 things you need to know about it. Because people like 3 things. So it does this, and it does that. Really? Wow, that's pretty cool. And so you're pumped, so the next person that walks into your store, you want to tell them those 3 things. You want to talk about that new item. And then we would let our sales associates find a new item and let them do it at a meeting. Because now they have a personal relationship with that merchandise. They now can sell it. How many of you have done this? And I do this because, again, it's a time frame. You ask somebody, you go, I need a new dentist. I don't want to look online because, you could Google and you come up with how many? Like 5 million, right? So you talk to a friend and you go, do you like your dentist? And they go, love my dentist. Give me your name and number. That's all I need. Because what? their impression, their feelings of that particular person are important. And they say, they're wonderful, they won't hurt you. You know, they're not tremendously expensive. They're very close by, and I go, I need to know. So, what are you doing with your people who are knowledgeable? It's really hard to see in this lighting. Do you have a clue what store this is? Who said it? Somebody said it. It's what? It's an Apple store. I happened to have been in California a couple of months ago doing a presentation, and I was at one of the fancy schmancy malls in California, and I'm walking around, and there's not very many people around. It's early in the morning, and I'm just going because I thought it was fun, and I come past the Apple store, and I went, well, now I know why there's nobody anywhere else. Heck, they're all in the Apple store. Why is it that the Apple store is such a draw? Why is it? They have a superior product. And it's all laid out for you to play with. It is like a toy store, is it not? Absolutely. And they're also knowledgeable, are they not? And they don't, please do not kill me for saying this word, but they don't make you feel stupid. Most of us don't like to feel like that. Go buy a car, go buy a house, go buy something that you don't know about, and you walk in and you've got the hunched over shoulders. The body language says, I'm embarrassed because I don't have knowledge. There are people who walk into your store every single day that don't have knowledge and don't know what you carry. Frankly, some of your stores are so huge when I walk in, I don't have the time to go wandering around and find everything. So what do you do to teach me a little bit more knowledge and teach your people to be more knowledgeable and share the knowledge? Because we all like to share that. Number 5 or 6 on yours is excellent pride. I want you to go back on this one, and again, I'm asking you on every single one of these, I hope you're writing it down. What percentage do you think you are successfully on doing all of these? If you say you're 100% on all of these, well, bless your heart. At some point, it might go down, but on this one, I really want you to take a look at your business through a woman's eyes. I'm doing a presentation now across all of my niches on women because women make 80% of all purchases. What are they looking at? What do they notice? When I gave you that example about coming up to the restaurant and the garbage overflowing and the fingerprints on the door, I have news for you. I've been married for almost 35 years to the same wonderful gentleman. He would have never noticed those fingerprints on that door, and he would have never noticed. He'd have never noticed the trash that was out front. Anybody else married to somebody like that? Come on, right? But I noticed it. Yesterday when I checked in at the Hilton, how many of you staying at the Hilton? Okay, it was a senses, all right, because I'm going to ask you, how are you playing up the senses in your store? When you walked in, that Hilton has got a smell. Am I right? I don't know what it is. I stay in a lot of hotels, but Southwest Airlines yesterday smelled like old locker room socks. Do you know what that smells like? If you've had sons, their bedrooms smell like this. I have no idea what little boys do in their rooms, but honestly, there is a smell. So that smell, that I came into the Hilton, and I was like, wow, can I bottle that? Can I bring that to my house? So I'm thinking to myself, that's the first thing. It was an experience that I had of smelling that when I first came in. So if we're looking at our businesses through a woman's eyes, I'm going to put these up here for you. And frankly, they are for whatever your business is. If it's just a party store, if you also have Halloween, I'm going to put them up there. They're looking at a clean first impression. A clean first impression, and it means everything. And women sometimes come in places, and they look you in the eye, and the first thing that they ask you is not about merchandise, it's what? Do you have a bathroom? Because women will make an assumption about your business based on what the bathroom looks like, right? And sometimes they go together. So, because you know, women can't go to the bathroom by themselves, go out to an event. They always have to take somebody with them. So now you have 2 women that are going into the bathroom, or 3, depending on who they came in with their friends. And now they are making assumptions about your store based on the bathroom. All right, ease of shopping. I'm a person that cannot stand Bed, Bath, and Beyond. Am I the only person that cannot stand that store? Do you know why? Those people who are nodding their heads know exactly why. I am not 20 feet tall. Who in the world gets up there to get a toilet plunger? Cut me a break. And sometimes that kind of shopping makes me nuts because I can't reach it, I can't get it, I can't buy it. You lose, and you didn't even know why I left. I've never told Bed Bath & Beyond that I hate that. And I'll bet you in this room I ain't the only one that does, right? All right, next one. Ease of shopping, that kind of goes into play. Informative signing. If you're not available, having informative signing, just like you have around here, is important. If you have a Halloween store, having an actual fitting room, not just a little black drape, because women look at those little black drapes and go, can someone see me through this, right? If you go back as long as I am, you remember those fitting rooms where you used to have a fitting room checker and they said that, oh, there's a little camera up there. And I remember in the department stores, people would always say to me, Ann, can those fitting room cameras see me taking my clothes off? Well, if they did, in my case, they'd be laughing way in the back room, so I'd know that there was a camera in there. But there's not. But having a fitting room, and here's my favorite one, I don't care what you have in your stores. If you've got something that a woman can look in the mirror for, get a full-length mirror. Put a full-length mirror in the store. Because I have a 6-year-old granddaughter. My 6-year-old granddaughter says when we're shopping, Nana, I have to go show it to the mirror. Women will appreciate this. Men don't do this. Women take it, they go over the mirror, and they go like this. And you know, do you not? Come on, ladies, you know. And you kind of go, oh, gosh, that color doesn't look good, right? Or like, well, I'm going to have to be on that spinning class a little bit longer. So please make sure you got a full-length mirror. And sometimes tasteful home decor. Those of you who sell Halloween, I got more Halloween than I have Christmas. But I like some tasteful, and I would come back over and over and over through the holiday if I could buy some funky stuff, but if I could also buy some classy stuff and some nice stuff that I could use on my dining room table or on my kitchen. So what she expects, the last one, which is a little bit of 6 and 7 if you're taking notes on this one. Hiring, using your HR correctly, as well as managing. See that mirror? Pride. You were created pride with the woman who came into the store because you were proud of your store. You made it look really good. But people like to work for people that they like. Have you ever had a bad boss? Ever in your life? Oh, I'm sure you have. Once. Never, not once. And she's sitting right there. Oh, God. Well, if you have over your lifetime, even if it was somebody you were babysitting for or somebody that you had your very, very first job for, I'm going to bet that the person that you did not like who was your first boss, it had nothing to do about the job. It had how they treated you as a person. They never noticed me when I walked into work. They didn't care about me. They didn't know I had children. They didn't know that I had really a tough schedule. They didn't know anything. Watch Undercover Boss. How many of you have ever watched Undercover Boss? Is that a great show? If you are not human, you don't cry at the end of that. Because what happens is you finally find the person that's in the ivory tower, and it could be the back office where you are, finally has a relationship and cares about the people that they work for. And all of a sudden you'll notice that those people say, I will work for him forever. I will walk over water. Or her. That person is wonderful. So when you take a look in the mirror, your management style. Rick Warren, in his book, The Purpose-Driven Life, says if you're not learning, you're not leading. Those of you who took the time to be here today to learn just a little or to reflect just a little on 7 little things that you can do differently. And this is my granddaughter, Addie. We took a picture with the magnifying glass. Kids are very curious. My magnifying glass is part of my logo. It's looking at things with a tighter focus. What are you doing in your business? How can you make a difference between first impressions, between connections, both inside and outside, between being knowledgeable, being efficient, taking a look at your business through a woman's eyes, and lastly, looking at yourself introspectively. Are you the best manager? Are you the best person at hiring the people who are going to be on your team who are absolutely meeting belly to belly with your customer? I think I did it. I think we're at just a tad over. I'm sorry that we went over. I hope you are going to take something through that entryway, take it back to your stores, and make a decision that one of those that's not 100% is going to be something that you're going to work on a consistent basis to make your business contagious. Thank you so, so much.